Hey guys, welcome back to the Unshakable Founder. This is episode 7. We are on episode 7 already. It's crazy to think that it's been 7 weeks since I've started this, but yeah, it's been fun. It's been eye-opening. It's really forced me to reflect on the things that I've been learning over the past month and a half, which has been great. But yeah. Let's dive right into this before I lose your guys' attention, because I know in our world today we have such short attention spans. But yeah, so today we're going to be covering just a quick personal update, and then I'm going to be looking into my notebook over some of the things that I've learned over the past week, and it'll only be a few topics. I am really dedicating myself to keeping this down to like about 15 minutes this time. So I just don't go too long, So the first personal update is that I don't think I've announced this yet, but my wife is pregnant with our second child. I have a 13-month-old, and he's great. We love him so much. He brings so much joy into our lives. And we were planning to have a second, or try for a second, at the end of this year, but we had a little bit of an accident. I wouldn't say accident, but like an unexpected pregnancy. And so either way, we're excited for this second baby. We don't know if it's a boy or a girl yet, but we should find out next week. And yep, that's the personal update for this week. Really excited about that. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be really crazy, especially, considering that we're in this 1-bedroom apartment. We're going to have to figure out some way to make it work. We can't afford a larger place, so yeah, this journey is overall, like, I'm stumbling over my words. It has its challenges. I don't know if you've ever experienced growing up in a small kind of household with a large family, but yeah, my wife and I, like, we're both of Mexican descent, so we have experienced like very small homes with large numbers of people. So it's not something that we're not used to, but we'd like to be more comfortable. But it's just a function of where we are in our journeys right now. We're gonna have to make this work. So that's the update. So let's dive into this. I'm going to be talking about, let me take a look at this here really quickly. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to be talking about is from a reel that I saw from Ryan Leake. And I don't know if you guys know Ryan Leake, but he is a speaker. And I'm not sure what else he does. I know he just wrote a book called Working with Complicated People, or something to the tune of that. But his videos always inspire me. And I have a bunch of them saved on my Instagram account, but he prompted me to think about something this week, and I'll share what that is. So I'm going to talk about a little bit about that. And it has to do with changing the world. So I'll get into that. The other thing is, I had a presentation for my corporate client this past Wednesday, and I'll talk a little bit about my experiences with that, how that went, and then a few lessons from the presentation, which was on mindset mastery. So I'll share a few lessons from that, and that should be it. So let me take a look. We're about 5 minutes in. Yeah, 4 minutes in. So let's dive into this. So in Ryan Leake's video, he talked about how sometimes some of us set out to, quote unquote, change the world. And it made me think about, or it made me reflect on the things that I've been talking about on this channel. And I know I've mentioned that I want to have this huge impact on people's lives. And I'm using "and" too much. I know I want to have a huge impact on people's lives. But that doesn't necessarily mean, now that I think more about it, that I'm setting out to change the world. I may have talked about this in previous videos, But now that I've had a chance to think about it a little bit more, hopefully I can articulate it a little bit better. So what I want to say about this is that I'm not out to change the world or change other people's lives. The only lives I'm looking to change are my own and my family's. And that I know I've said on this channel before. What I am hoping to do is to inspire a generation of other entrepreneurs and founders, startup founders, to have the courage to go for it, right? To inspire people to build up the self-trust and the self-confidence to be able to go after what they want. Because that's a gift I feel I've cultivated over the past, I'd say probably 3 or 4 years. It's taken some time for me to get there, but I've done it largely on my own. And I could have hired a mindset coach, but back then I wasn't quite ready to accept this idea that investing in yourself can put you ahead a lot faster. And now I'm of the belief that if you don't invest in yourself, it's going to take you much, much longer to figure out how to, whether it's a business coach to start your own business, or a mindset coach, what else, like a branding strategist, whatever it is. Like, all these things can put you ahead so much faster because of the rate at which you learn things. It's just worth investing in if you have the means. If you don't, then try to find a way to set aside some funds to be able to invest in yourself. Because this is another thing that I'm going to bring up because it just came up today, but I joined this like really small cohort of individuals who are at the early stages of their coaching businesses. And I don't even know if some of them are going to continue on actually doing coaching. But I met with them because they seem like a great group of people. And they are. We had a 1-hour meeting today. But I can tell from some of the things that they've said, because they're a little bit further behind in their business and coaching journeys from where I am, that they still have a lot of things to figure out. And from what I've heard today, it sounds like they're going to try and figure things out on their own, which is fine, right? Like, one of them has a corporate finance background. He's going to be fine. It's just, if he chooses not to invest in himself and get a coach, a business coach, mindset coach, whatever it is, a social media growth coach, it's going to take him much longer. If his goal is to grow his own business and have that provide him a lifestyle of, more control over his time, his experiences with his family, all of that, then he's in for a surprise, right? Like, it's going to take him much longer than if he does invest in himself. So that's what I'm trying to say. But that's kind of a tangent of, I'm here to inspire you to hopefully change your own life. I'm not going to change your life. You're going to change your own life, but hopefully the words that I say can inspire you to do that. Now I want to shift into, let's see, what are we at? I keep looking at the time. We're at 9 minutes. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about this presentation that I had. So I have a corporate client, and I got this client by just, using a strategy that I learned in a business program that I was a part of last year, which is just very simple. Comment on other people's posts where you think that your ideal client might be. So comment on other people's posts and send out direct messages. Whether, for me, I'm on Instagram, so I send out a ton of direct messages, but I don't send out nearly enough. I know I should be sending out way more. But it's through that method that I met some incredible people. And one of those I had, that provided me an opportunity to be able to put my name into contention for becoming a speaker for a business. And so, I put my name in. I sent my proposal and my outline for the topics that I would be covering. And yeah, they said that they floated around my proposal to the company, and they said that they had the most positive reaction to my outline of topics that were covered. And so, had an interview, nailed the interview, and now, throughout this year, basically every other month, I'm doing a presentation. And so, this past week's presentation was on mindset mastery. The thing that I was reflecting on this past week was, how do I know once I start bringing in clients that I'm the type of person that will actually want to improve myself and my program and my ability to get those clients results? Like, how do I know I'm that type of person? And I was kind of searching for some evidence through this experience that I'm having with that corporate client. And what I realized is, looking back on the past, I've done 3 presentations so far. So looking at the past 2 presentations, the first one, I knew exactly what kind of mistake that I made that stood out to me. And, back then that was all I could really focus on. And so I made sure for the second presentation, I didn't make that same mistake. And it's crazy how even in some regards you do well, right? Like, I was incredibly nervous that first presentation. I'd never done it before. And I was in front of I was doing, it was over Zoom, not Zoom, it was over Microsoft Teams. So, I'm presenting online to people, but it was over 80 people that first session. And so doing a presentation to over 80 people who I have, I've never met before can be nerve-wracking. Luckily, for me, doing breath work right before helps really, really like ground me and calm me. And so I was able to perform pretty well. But either way, I made a mistake, and I'll tell you what that mistake was. So I presented everything really great. I rehearsed so much, like 2 weeks before that presentation, because I was trying to replay in my mind the things that could possibly go wrong and account for that in case something did go wrong. But then at the very end, I open it up to questions at the end of every presentation. I allow for like 10 to 15 minutes in case people have questions. And so some questions came in, and I felt like I answered them okay, but then this one particular guy commented. He didn't really have a question. He said he had a comment about how the presentation resonated with him because it was his first day starting that job, or it was his first week or something. And I kind of just froze after his comment. I didn't thank him for sharing the comment. I was just kind of waiting for the question. And it was this kind of like awkward moment. And, thinking back on that presentation, I didn't think about like how well I did. I didn't think about all the people who were saying like, oh my gosh, this was so good. Like, thank you so much for sharing this. I focused on that guy who left that comment, and I didn't what's the word I'm looking for? Like, reassure him. I didn't validate what he was saying. And I'm just like, what an amateur move, right? But it was my first time, and I just made sure, if there was any other comments or questions in my second presentation, that I just made sure that I addressed it. So that second presentation, I didn't do as well as the first one because my son got sick the week before. And I think at that point, I only had maybe about half of the presentation done. So I had to kind of scramble to get the presentation done a couple days before. And because I didn't rehearse it as well, it kind of just felt like I was reading off just the bullet points of my presentation, which I know was terrible because I had asked my wife afterward, did that sound like I was kind of reading? And she's like, yeah, it just felt like you were reading off something. I'm like, oh man. And so I that was the only thing I could focus on. So this third presentation, I was better prepared. I rehearsed it plenty. Just remembered to, respond and validate people's questions, comments, things like that. This third presentation was so far the best one, I think, out of the previous two. And there wasn't a single thing from it that I felt like I could call myself out on and be like, okay, where did I epically mess up? I mean, I know there are things I can improve on. Like, I know I can include more stories, because I know people resonate more when I share some personal stories throughout the presentation that touch on the topics that I'm covering. So I'll be sure to do that for the next one. But that's how I kind of determined, in reflecting on those past presentations and how I'm improving each one, that I know I will do right by my future clients. And so that kind of brings me up to, what are we at? Oh shoot, we're at 16 minutes, I think. Okay, 20 minutes. So I'm launching an offer. I'm starting it at the start of Q3, which is next month. And so this past week, I've been kind of pushing that offer on Instagram for the past week. And so far, I have one interested person that I'm trying to get a sales call with, and I'm trying to push it out, through my stories, through advertising, trying to see if I can get more bites. But I'm just trying to get 5 people into this program so I can improve on, getting my clients results. I believe in it. And I asked my business coach, what can I change about my offer? And one of the things that came up was, if you truly believe in it, then work with them for free until they get the results that they're looking for. And it's a 90-day program, so if I were to work with them, beyond that, I fully believe that the results that I say I'm going to get them, which is tapping into more revenue growth. And maybe that's not specific enough. Maybe I specify an additional 5K, because they're just starting out, an additional 5K of revenue growth if you master your mindset through my Unshakable Founder System. So some things I got to play around with through that offer. But yeah, I've got one interested party, which is great. I'm going to try and nurture that and see where that goes, because I think she would be a great fit. And I'm not just saying that to try and get people in. I genuinely want to bring people in who I feel can benefit from this program. So there's that. And then lastly, and what are we at? We're at, I think, 18 minutes. So let me just share really quickly the 3 lessons that I wanted to share from that presentation on Mindset Mastery that I gave earlier this week. So the first one is on successes, mistakes, failures, and the illusion of success. So what do I mean by this? So let's see if I can very quickly break this down. But success, I've defined on this channel, I believe, before as actions performed plus desired results. Very simple, right? Perform a set of actions, do enough of them so that you get the desired results. That's success. Mistakes, on the other hand, are actions performed or an action performed plus an unexpected, undesired result. But the common thread between those two is that you're still doing actions, right? And in success, that formula of actions performed plus desired results, you're going to be making mistakes within those actions performed, right? You're going to be continuously performing actions until you've hit the right ones, that you've achieved your desired results. So mistakes and success are very closely related. And then you have failure, which to me is the decision not to act. There is no actions performed, which guarantees that you will not achieve your desired results. And I think this is a very important distinction to make, because a lot of people, in my opinion, confuse mistakes for failures. Mistakes are great. Failures, not as much, but sometimes they're necessary, right? Sometimes if you say you pursue a business and you realize, you know what, this is not really what I wanted, then you can quit that business, right? Sometimes that's necessary. Quitting that business, you fail at that business, and you start something new. That's, in my opinion, where failure is great. Coming to the realization that what you thought you wanted isn't actually what you wanted. And this is where the illusion of success kind of comes in. And so the illusion of success to me is defined as actions performed plus misaligned desired results. And this is why in my program, it's so important for that first phase that I have my clients go through, that they dive deep into understanding who they are, their core values, the vision of their future, their aspirational identity as an unshakable founder. Uncovering these things will hopefully completely clear up this misaligned desired results, which usually comes in the form of lots of money, lots of stuff, cars, a mansion, or fame, which usually comes at the expense of others. And those are not the type of people that I'm trying to help. I'm trying to help more value-driven founders. So that was the first point. The second point was the 10-10-10 rule. This is a rule that can very easily put stressful moments or painful moments into perspective. Or, just when it comes to like a business decision, or if you're facing self-sabotage or self-doubt, ask yourself these 3 questions. And it's known as the 10-10-10 rule, which is, will this matter in 10 minutes? And just think about it for a second. 10 minutes isn't that long. You probably will still be thinking about it, right? Will this matter in 10 months? Well, maybe, who knows? Depending on what the situation is, like let's say it's a breakup and it's kind of a bad breakup. Yeah, maybe I might still be thinking about it in 10 months, but it might not be as hurtful, then. Or I might not be experiencing, the same amount of pain. It might be less. And then the last one is, will it matter 10 years from now? And that's the question that I think really triggers that perspective shift. Because 10 years from now, if you're single, you could be married and have like 3 kids. Who knows, right? Like, should I be spending this amount of time worrying about, what other people will think about me? Should I be spending this amount of time in this pain that I'm feeling? Because 10 years from now, it won't even matter, right? It probably won't even matter. And so I'm going to start using that myself as a way to kind of put things into perspective, especially with me with regards to, should I put this reel out? Like, is this too risky? Or, whatever it is, like I'm going to use that rule to kind of like gain some perspective immediately in the moment. And then the last thing is affirmations don't work. And what I mean by that is like just affirmations don't work by themselves is what I'm trying to say. Continuously telling yourself something positive is going to be really hard to believe if you've had, a story or a wrong belief that you've been telling yourself for years. And so if you're trying to tell yourself, I'm confident, and you're like, why am I bullshitting myself? Like I'm lying to myself right now. That's not going to work. And what you have to do, and this is what I suggested in the presentation, is you have to pair the affirmation with an action, and then consistently tell yourself the affirmation plus perform the action. And when you do that over a long period of time, over that time, the belief will catch up. But it's so important to be able to perform the action, because that's the proof you need to believe what it is you're telling yourself. That's how affirmations work. You have to pair it with an action. It can be a simple action, but it has to be something that you do that backs what you say. When you can do that over a long period of time, it may not work at first, but give it time, right? Give it at least 60 days, a minimum 60 days, to kind of change your internal beliefs, the stories that you tell yourself. Because honestly, like, it's probably years of you telling yourself something like, I'm not good enough, or I don't believe in myself, or I can't do it. Whatever it is, you've likely spent years building that belief, building, whatever story in your mind to get you to believe that. And so if you want to flip that, pick your affirmation, pair it with an action, and give yourself a minimum of 60 days, if not longer, and see what happens. That's what I did for myself. To be perfectly honest, that's what I did for myself. For the longest time, I had so much doubt and disbelief, not thinking that a wealthy life was meant for me. But I don't believe that anymore. I just simply do not believe that. Literally anything is possible when you start to believe in yourself, when you've built that self-trust. And part of that is just, telling yourself something that you may not believe in the beginning, but allowing that belief to catch up, allowing that identity that you're trying to step into, allowing it to catch up as you build the evidence of, yes, I do believe in myself. This is the action that I'm doing to back it, and allowing that to work over time. That's it for this one, you guys. That's it for this one. I did not keep it at 15 minutes. It's 26 minutes. Oh, man. It's hard. There's so much I want to share, and it's just, it can be difficult. So that's it for this one. I can't wait to see you guys next week. This is the Unshakable Founder. Thanks for joining, guys.